So I thought today I'd just give you a quick update on the progress on the seedlings that I've sown so far this month, and also the ones that are still from last month that haven't been planted out yet. Making good progress really with the seedlings. I'm planting a lot every week as I clear beds on the allotment and in the back garden, and so right now I've got quite a glut behind me of seedlings ready to go out, and now's the time just to show you them all. And I do like to do this seedling progress video, I must admit. It's okay, it's one thing doing a video telling people what seeds to sow, but I think it's another thing entirely to show you what I've actually sown and the actual progress and health and all of that sort of thing of the seedlings. And I'll tell you a little bit about how I've got them to this stage, you know, where I've grown them, where I'm bringing them on, where I'm going to plant them and all that sort of thing. So let's take a look. So this is where most of my seedlings are growing right now, just outside on this little grow bench on the patio. But that's not where it all starts. So at this time of year, almost everything happens in my workshop, and I've got everything in here for gardening. So down here I've got all my seedling trays and drip trays and all that sort of thing. And then up here I've got all my module trays and plant pots and all of that sort of thing. And then here, this is where the actual seed sowing takes place. And then down there, that's the compost. And details of the compost I use for all different sorts of things is in the ebook. Now just here on the floor, next to all the preserves jars and things, that's where I start my seeds at this time of year. Nice, stable temperature, not too hot, not too cold, probably about 18 degrees on average, maybe up to 20 if the sun's out. And that's pretty much the same conditions that I have in the unheated bedrooms in the house. And so I normally just lay seedlings out in a spare bedroom in winter if I'm starting things, or in spring. But at this time of year, middle of September, just down here on the floor in the shed, it's the right place for germination. And then I'll just generally move the seedlings into this little grow light area, and I have just taken some things out of here, that's why it's a bit sparse. But right now I've just got spinach just coming up. I've got all my next sowings of brassicas and just a few lettuces in there. I prick them out from there into trays like this for the brassicas, or slightly smaller ones like those. And I generally leave them in this grow light area for the first 2 weeks until they're just slightly bigger than these. So basically, once I've got every cell germinated, then I'll move them outside. Outside is just slightly more challenging growing environment for them. I find they just do a little bit better in here, as I say, for the first few weeks, and then they can go outside. So if you want details of any of the seedlings that I've sown, then I'll just refer you to my gardening ebook, and there's a reference information section in there, and you can just pull up any month and you'll find details in there of what I sowed that month and what I planted that month, as well as lots of videos and things like that showing you what I harvested, and yeah, and loads more. So that's the best place to go if you want more details on the specific varieties and things like that, and also information on where to get the seeds from. Right, so let's go through these tray by tray. So this tray is lamb's lettuce. It's very slow growing. I'll be planting this out in October. It's fine outside. It does benefit from a little bit of shelter, and if you were to have a really cold snap like we had earlier this year, where wind chill was down to sort of -10, it would benefit from a bit of fleece. But for most of the year, it's perfectly happy growing outside, and it's going to be going into some of the beds in the back garden. So next up is winter miner's lettuce. This is an amazing lettuce. It's really tasty and quite succulent. It's a bit droopy at the moment, needs planting out, and again this is going to go into back garden beds and probably a little bit on Debbie's plot on the allotment. And then we've got onions, loads and loads of onions. Now almost all of these are various successions of bunching onions, salad onions, spring onions, whatever you want to call them. But these are going to be ready kind of over winter and into spring. I've already got quite a lot actually out in the garden, and these are a bit bigger, so these will be ready in October. My bulbing onions for next year, so the ones that are going to be harvested in May, June and July, and fill the gap between our stored onions finishing and our main crop onions being ready in August. All of those are planted out now, so those are Tough Ball and Shenchu Yellow, and again they're fine outside. Spring onions are also fine outside like these, but if you want to be eating them over winter, then they do benefit from a bit of cover. But if you put them under cover right now, they'll go a bit droopy because it's a little bit hot for them. So I don't put any onions really under cover until October. So, multiple successions. Now I tend to interplant a lot of my spring onions, so they'll be interplanted into spinach and lettuce beds, things like that. And then I've got radishes and turnips. Those are the radishes, those are the turnips. And I've got another succession of those just down here. And I generally do a tray of these every couple of weeks. I've got some salad rocket over there. Salad rocket is a really great addition to the salad mixes over winter. Again, that's fully hardy, so we'll be growing that probably on the allotment beds. And I've got some collards there, just for some trials. Never grown collards before. And then here I've got my spring cabbages. Now I've also got some spring cabbages under those grow lights, a later succession. The later succession ones, they'll be planted out into gaps that start opening up on the polytunnel in February probably. I don't like to do too many spring cabbages at this time of year, because I find that this is plenty. If I have any more than this, they'll just start going to seed before I can eat them. So I like to start some, as I say, a bit later on, that'll grow over winter as small plants, get planted out next year, and then they won't go to seed in spring. They'll have plenty of time to heart up. And I've got some various different varieties of chard, and those are too small now to plant outside, so they're going to go in the polytunnel and mainly be harvested for baby leaf salad ingredients, just to add some colour to the salad mixes. They don't look very colourful at the moment, but they will look a lot better. And we do have mature chard outside in the back garden, and this is what we would use in stir fries, for example. And then for this year, this is my last succession of salad onions. I like to do them in succession, where these are the second batch to harvest. The ones in the garden that I showed you will be the first batch, and then this will be the next batch, and then this will be the third or fourth batch or something like that. Otherwise they just all come at the same time and they end up being a bit too thick, a bit too big. And I've got most of my field beans I just plant direct in the ground and then just cover with the compost mulch. I've got a few spares though, because there's a few seeds that never germinate, and I hate a gap in a bed. So I've just got, 24 there, which should fill any gaps that open up. So I think that's pretty much all of the seedlings that I've got outside. I've got a few onions on the allotment that are still to plant. I've got some lovely baby leeks that are coming on well. I just planted those a few weeks ago. Everything else is inside. So this is my little grow room. It's too hot in here really to do much seed rearing at the moment, but as soon as we get into October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, then this is full, absolutely full of seedlings, and plants go into maturity as well. So I have a lot of cucumbers, very early baking potatoes, all sorts of things in here, tomatoes, peppers obviously, things like that. But right now I've got baby cucumbers, and they've just been transplanted actually just a few days ago, and they're coming on really nicely. Lots of new little cucumbers on there. and I'm expecting the cucumbers on the allotment to finish in about 2 weeks, and I'm expecting to be harvesting from these in about 2 weeks. I've got a spare plant there, I've got one growing vertically up here, and it's a bit shady here, but I do have a grow light, and so once in October, when I've got lots of seedlings in here, then this will get some spillover light from there. And I've got another 2 plants up there, again growing really nicely. And then finally on the kitchen windowsill we've got our late tomatoes. They're just starting to come into flower now. We won't quite have continuity in tomatoes because we lost the tomatoes to blight in the polytunnel, so we've only got one more harvest of those, well perhaps 2, so it'll be a few weeks before these start giving us tomatoes now. I'm going to pot these on, and some of those are going to stay on the kitchen windowsill and some of them are going to go in the conservatory. And if you want more details of how I garden, then I'll just refer you to my ebook. That's got all the information about every aspect of the way that I garden, as well as growing guides for year-round growing and individual growing guides for specific crops. And relevant to sowing seeds and planting seeds, the basics section is where to go, and that's a really useful, just short summary of all the basic gardening techniques. There's chapters on advanced gardening techniques as well, but the basics part one is the place to start, and of course there is a section in there on sowing seeds. So I do still have a few things to sow. As I said, you can find details of this by going into the reference information section of my ebook and looking at the appropriate month, and some of them are marked as done, like the turnips that you just saw germinated there, and then anything that's not done still to be sown. So actually today is the 15th of September, so I'm a day behind, but this is what I've still got to sow. I've got some lettuce, in fact lots of lettuce, and these are all going to go in the polytunnel and in low tunnels. Lots of different varieties, all great for winter. There's a few experimental ones which I'm not 100% confident in, but I always try to do at least 1 or 2 lettuce varieties that are new to me each year, in each season. And I've got spinach, loads of spinach. I do have quite a lot of spinach already planted on the allotment, but really for my winter supply I prefer to sow them about now. Plant them out middle of October, and then some more successions of turnips, some late lettuces, and I also like to overwinter some of the flowering brassicas, so I get a nice early crop in May in the polytunnel and again in my low tunnels. And I like to do marathon and snowball cauliflower. So I've already done 1 succession of those. I'll do another one, as I say, towards the end of September. I'll do another one in October. And that just gives me a nice successional harvest. Do them all together, obviously. They all flower at the same time, which is really frustrating. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.